Alright guys and gals, welcome back to the shop. Shade Tree Mechanics here. You guys wondering, here's the Manco. You can see it looks quite different than the last video we had. We actually have videos of this, of the teardown, but we run into a snag with the computer and the new camera and everything talking. We're in the process of getting that video up. Just give you guys an update on it. This motor is junk. The cylinder's scored, the camshaft's bent, the crank's chewed up, the rod's chewed up. You'll get to see all that in the other video when we get it up. Just giving you guys an update on it. Tonight's video is going to be on the doodlebug. We got some work to do to it, and we're going to get this one off the lift, get that one on, and get back.
Today we are working on the powerhouse doodlebug with the probably 20 horsepower plus Predator. Completely modded out. The only thing we have left to do is pretty much mod the head, port and polish the ports. It's having a lot of trouble starting, so we're going to see what we can do to get it to start easier. We've asked a bunch of people how to get it to start easier. Got a lot of feedback on Facebook, so we're going to do a few things and see if we can get started tonight.
What we've done to this, guys, is we put a flat top or high compression piston, and when we did that we went to 26-pound valve springs, and since we've done that, when you hit compression stroke, it pulls the pull cord out of your hand, basically. So we're going to go back, pull the side cover off, double check the timing. We've got to check the valves, make sure we got the lash set right on them. What else was it, Justin?
The timing key, the compression release on the camshaft itself.
So we got to pull the other side cover off and check the cam, make sure the compression relief is working, which it may not even be on, because that's really because we did the cam, the piston, and the valve springs all at the same time, and that's when we started having problems. It actually, that's why the pull start goes to the front, because we had it where it's supposed to be, and I went to start it one day and it kicked it back out of my hand so bad it came back and actually snapped the carburetor. So wants to backfire through the carb when you try to start it. So we got something that's not quite right, so we got to get in here. So we're going to grab some tools, rip this bad boy apart, be back with you in a second.
Alright guys, so the first thing we're going to do is take this clutch off. It's just a 1/2 inch bolt with a bunch of spacers. So a trick for this is just take the ratchet, smack it, it'll just loosen the bolt up. If you try to pull the bolt out like you would a regular bolt that had a nut on the back side, it would just spin the clutch. So that's why you would smack the ratchet. So we're going to pull this off. This is our $50 race clutch off of Go Power Sports. You can change these springs, and it'll change the RPM that the clutch actually engages. So it's a pretty good racing clutch. We're going to have to pull this chain tensioner off. This is also 1/2 inch.
I think the other side is 7/16.
Yeah.
Yep,
7/16. So you just put your wrench on the back side of this, pull the tensioner off. Now that that's off, and you want to make sure when you go to put this back on that you put the spacers where they were before you took it off, because it'll affect where your chain is and how tight it is. So now that the tensioner's off, we can come back here and take the chain off of the sprocket, which allows that to loosen up, and the clutch is off. So just going to put that back in there. So the clutch is off. So now we can drain the oil and take the side cover off. So I think we're going to get to that here soon. And we'll get right back.
Alright guys, while Justin's draining the oil on the other side, I'm going to go ahead and start pulling this side cover off. 8mm here. Pull your screws. Every hole does not have one. Not all the holes in the side cover are threaded. Whoop, there it is. Changing the oil or draining the oil in this one is just like we did in the Manco. The square plug in the back, which you can see Justin's there working on. This last bolt out. Little tech tip, you can always put your bolts right back in where they came out. That way you know where they go and you don't lose them. So that's what I'm doing. Put these back in. There we go. So we got one to get this side cover here off. We got a bolt here. Don't think all these little bolts are the same because they are different lengths. So there's another one back here. And two down here. Another little upgrade we've done. I'm sure you guys realize, look at this cable and realize that that's not a regular bike cable. We've upgraded this bike to hydraulic disc versus the old like bicycle style, what I call them. So Justin, what are you getting ready to tackle?
As soon as the oil is done draining, I'm just going to spray it off and pull the side cover off.
Alright, so we'll get back with you when the oil's done draining, and we pulled it. Oil's still draining, it's cold, it's 34 degrees. We've got the heat going in the shop, but it's still cold. This motor's been sitting, so oil's thick. It's just regular 30 weight oil, but being so cold it's thick. I'm going to go ahead and pop this starter gear here off. Pop that off. Then grab some pry bars, and I'm going to pop this flywheel off. Justin's pretty billet flywheel he's got there. You don't have to run a billet flywheel on these guys, but it helps with your getting some RPM going. Justin, you want to grab a hammer? Remember, we got a tech tip. Don't hit the end of your threads. put your nut back on a little bit. Give that a couple taps while I pry. What you don't want to do, guys, is just start prying and cranking on this. What we're doing is when he taps on that, it is shocking the paper. Oh. Let me come around. Cody, switch spots with me. See if I can get down here. Alright. Oh, there we go. So we're going to pull the flywheel here. Keyway looks good. Crank looks good. Hasn't been doing anything silly. When we first put this bike together, guys, we put a offset key, which advanced the timing 8 degrees, and we were concerned that maybe we hadn't changed it back out. But as you can see, that's just a normal key, so it's obvious we have changed that back to what it's supposed to be. So we're good there. So next is go ahead and start popping that side cover loose, Justin.
Is it the compression stroke?
I have no idea. I can't turn it. Here. Alright.
Cool.
What I'm looking at, guys, is the valves. Make sure that they're in a neutral position, which it looks like they are.
And guys, with this Predator, all the side cover bolts are the same length, so you don't have to do the trick with the cardboard. You can just lay them all in the same place and you won't get them mixed up.
While he's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and start popping the valve cover off. And we got to loosen the valves up. There goes one bolt. So we can check the cam. Now, do not get your valve cover and your side cover, these bolts that I took out of here, confused, because they are different lengths. I'm going to slip your air filter off, Justin. Give myself a little room here. Yeah, we're kind of bouncing around. We're a little short on time tonight. We got a late start. I know it's been a couple weeks since we put anything out for you guys to watch. Like I said, we're working on the Manco, and still got to get those videos ready, edited, getting close to having those ready. And with the Manco, we're actually waiting for the owner to decide which motor he's going to put on it, because that motor is not worth repairing, which you guys will see when we get that other video up. So he's going to figure out which size engine he wants to put on it. And when he gets us an engine, we'll be back on that one, putting it back together. Yep, the compression relief is there. Does it move freely? Yeah, it's not stuck.
So that issue's ruled out. Cam looks perfect. Doesn't have much run time. Lifters are about to come out, but that's not a big deal. They just slide back in. Crank bearing is perfect. No grinding. Everything looks good. Looks like there was a little metal contact right here at some point, but
That's a factory grind
oh, it is.
from a casting.
What's wrong? Yeah, everything looks good, so must be a valve issue. So we're gonna tackle that.
I'm going to go ahead and you'll see me do this on the Manco. That dot is a timing reference, and it needs to line up with. Go ahead, turn. Keep going. Hold on. This mark right here. So let me see here how close this is going to go back together. All right, Justin. Actually, I need you to turn it back a little bit. Right there. All right, guys. As you can see, I just slipped the cam back in. Cody 0 down here. And you got the dot lined up with the line in the crank, on the crank gear. So that's back together. So we're good there. So now it's on to, we'll throw the side cover back on. That way we don't have any play in the cam when we go to do the valves. And we'll, alright guys, so side cover's back on, just zip that back on real quick. It's the same process as when it comes apart, you just slide it on. Next we're going to check the valves. When we put this together, yeah, I set them a little loose. Probably too loose. Yeah, way too loose. So what we're going to do is break this nut loose. So that one's loose, and you can see how sloppy that is. So what I'm going to do is just turn it till there's no slop. Back off just a touch. I'll wrench back on here. It's important that you tighten down. Whoops, maybe a touch tight. Tighten this little nut down. That's what it's called, like a posi lock or something along those lines that you want to call it. And that does is keeps the nut from backing off, so you don't lose your valve springs, your rocker arms, I mean. Yeah, I'm afraid that's going to be too tight. So break that back loose a little. There we go. I'm happy with that one. Same thing over here. Mixed reviews on what to set these at. Different sites or forums for these say 0 slash, some say 3000 slash. So we're just gonna set them with the old eyeballs here. If I can get my wrench back on. Without loosening it up too much, which I am. Go right there. Tighten this jam nut down. Alright. So now the valves are in. We don't have oil in it, so we're not going to try to start it. But we're actually running out of time tonight. We got work and school. So next video we'll be seeing if our stuff worked. So for tonight, that's going to be it from Shade Tree Mechanics. As always, like, comment,